when we look at what's most exciting about what's going on in NA, most of the time it's just AD carries. Like Masu, Yeon is the name that always comes up in terms of where, of course, LTA can compete. And the fact that Sven is performing as good as he is so damn impressive. And it seems like finally they're coming together and understanding when they are stronger, because the macro concepts are there in terms of being in tune with the swaps, how they use the TP, how they set up for grubs, all the things were there. They just weren't willing to kind of press their buttons and let their hands go in situations where they could fight. And it seems like they kind of tapped into that version of Blabber again, and he's the one basically turning into 113 to some degree for this team, and just sending it. I'm really enjoying the C9. A little bit of bias because his boy Dom is helping them out, but it feels good to see them do good, because Dom was always talking about how good they can be, especially in practice, like that they have a lot of potential.
No, I'm especially with you that, like, they have hands, bro. Like, you've seen this when they've played the other top teams. Like, that's why what has aged very poorly, unfortunately, is those very first week of the year interviews that Whippo did in LTA, where he was sort of like, hey, we're the big dogs who just went with Gen G, like 5 games, bro. Like, you're all gonna have to, like, learn from us if you want to get good. And then literally within like a week or two, they were just fucking getting beaten by these fuckers in BO1s anyway. Like, what the real mistake of FlyQuest is this: NA will always be its own unique meta, and unfortunately, one thing that has always been proven will work in NA is having hands. Like, I'm with you, mate. I think Thanatos, sadly, has been underrated because he came into the flawed Cloud9 and then he replaced Fudge, who was popular. And then people can just tell he obviously doesn't do like genius calls, does each plays. But, mate, I always say this guy just reminds me, obviously they're both Korean, but it reminds me of Photon. It's just a really fucking skilled player, mate. Like, you watch them play, and if you're a fan of LCK, you're like, bro, these guys could probably go back to LCK. Like, they're just good players. Like, this is like this guy gaps most of the fucking LTA players he plays in lane. He's just good. Like, so even though, look, Cloud9 isn't a team I want to see internationally, Yamato. Obviously, I'd rather TL and FlyQuest. They actually have a chance to do some macro shit. But I'll tell you what, they're going to actually make those teams earn those spots, though. That's what's cool. If you think about it, up until 100 Thieves beat Cloud9 last summer, that was like a 2-team region. It was basically TL and then maybe FlyQuest if they're good. You know, that was it. Like, that was, and as you said, they had the roster moves. So you look now, like, the whole region, the top end is way better in LTA now. Like, actually, that's why I actually like that. It's not a circle of suck. They just have that, like, A beats B beats C beats D. They have like that weird combo goes around. So it's actually fun. It's why I'm glad the fucking BO1s, at least, like, we're moving past that, because BO1, now that we've got BO3s in Europe, BO1 is really hard to watch, bro. Because you watch it and you're like, this is just rando. It's dog shit.
It's the most painful part as well, is we just sat there and knew that it wouldn't matter. Like, the divide between top 4 and bottom 4 is so absurd. Yep. Team Liquid dropping a game against this guy's Tosh was completely fucking mental that happened. But the fact that the divide is there, I always thought, for some reason, when I read the format, I thought, like, up until like a week ago, I thought that, we're going to have like the LPL format, that the top 4 are in one group and the bottom 4 is in one group. But I think this was just wishful thinking, because I think we're going to just have a little bit more of the same, because it's so clear which of the teams that are going to pass to the next round. It's super obvious, knowing that C9 Team Liquid is in one.
Would have been fire if they really had have done a group that was just the 4 we're talking about. That would be unbelievable. But they obviously instead they just did 2 groups, which is like, I'm with you, mate. The only question is what order was number 1 and 2 in. That's about it. That's the only question, right? There's definitely going to be those 2 teams in each group. It's obvious.
No, for sure. And we would have to wait till playoffs again until we see like Fly against C9 and so forth. So they are, edging us a little bit. But I think now on the conversation of the LTA South and the LTA merger, the fact that, they're only sending 1 team is also a little bit sad, because there's a world where we don't get
I forgot about that. You're right. I forgot.
There's a world where we don't get that FlyQuest fucking matchup against Fnatic. Like, they don't send 2 teams. They're going to send 1 team out of LTA South. And I just don't think that's going to be a team that is comparable in terms of the level that is going to be at this competition. If the LTA South teams are getting smoked by all the LTA North teams, how the fuck are they going to look at MSI? I don't really look forward to that too much.
Yeah, by the way, if you look it up, he's right. I forgot about that. It's EWC they send top 2 from LTA, but it's only LTA winner, North, gets 1 spot. So it's actually even more crazy. Like, bro, one of FlyQuest or TL's just going to be sat there, like, watching some shit at LTA South team just get banged, going, like, can I play? Can put me in the game, coach? Like, you're right. That's actually good. By the way, that's going to age very poorly when that comes around. That's going to age so poorly.
100%. Bro. It's like
Sucks.
at least whatever team that gets second place in LTA North is going to be so warmed up for EWC.
True
They're
that.
be rested.
By the way, jokes aside, that is one reason I actually am glad EWC exists, though, is exactly for the reason, like as we talked about in the past. Put it this way, because T1's a member org, there's probably some way they get invited anyway, bro, even if they're not top team career. But I actually want to see them play still, whether they'll actually... Because, by the way, think about it. We used to literally have that back in the day with the IEMs. Remember, there was like an IEM where, like, fucking SK went and it was like All-Stars. They had one where they went. There was like one where KT Roasted Bullets went, the one where they played fucking Fnatic in the final or whatever. Like, bro, these weren't the top teams at the time. But the point is... they're still comparable to the top Western teams. It's fun to watch them play the international circuit. Like, I'm with you. Like, at least we actually do get to see that second place LTA team players tournament this summer. It's not going to be MSI, so it's at least something to watch.
There's a vacation in Saudi Arabia there. Up until the tournament, some shit.
By the way, I'm never going to overreact to a BO1, but I do think that Disguised Toast series game was fucking whack from TL, though. Holy fuck. What was that?
Well, the day before, I'm watching this guy's toast, and I said out loud, I was like, this might be like the worst major region team, like this guy's toast.
Pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Smoked by Dignitas, and I thought this team is just like, you know, this is budget on the next level. You know, this is crazy, and the fact that they beat Team Liquid is appalling. Like that shouldn't be even possible on Team Liquid's worst possible day ever. But then it's like the little caveat that people say, well, that game didn't matter for the standings, so it doesn't matter too much. And I guess there's some truth to it, but come on. You can't lose against this guy's toast. That's just not real.
Even the way they lose is just a disgrace, bro. Like, if you watch the game, at no point in the game do you ever think TL's going to lose. It's like an even game the whole way through. You're just thinking, like, right, eventually they're just going to have a big team fight. TL's going to win and the game's going to be over. And what they do is they go and the Baron's being baited and then like they just let Impact on his own on Renekton just walk into a brush that's warded and just get killed and blown up and then like then it just gradually all falls. And you're like, what is this game? Like, bro, remember, TL is the team, Yamato, a year ago that people were saying has world-class macro. You just failed the most basic Baron bait I've ever said. What is that? The fuck? That's like, look, it is only a BO1. Remember, if it was a BO3, maybe they come back and win the next two games, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it was a little bit alarming to me. Like, the lack of points was nuts, mate. I thought they'd crush this team. I'm with you. I think this guy's toast isn't even vaguely good, mate. Come on.
I think in a world now when, I think pretty much looking at the state of Team Liquid and 100 Thieves, even though there's been moments where they've shown the capacity to beat Fly and C9, I think in the current state of things, I do feel like the LTA is going to be just a two-horse race. I would be very surprised if either C9 or Fly don't win. Like that should be like an impossibility, especially with how like the format should shape up. Like sure, if you lose a best of three to qualify in a poor way into the BO5s, then that's fully on you. Like the randomness is out of the picture. You're not going to travel anywhere. There's no logistical nightmares. There's nothing. C9 FlyQuest should be like the finals. Anything else would be damn surprising. And if somehow Team Liquid, make it happen, once again, I'm just gonna give more medals and props to Spawn. Yay, Absolutely. Spawn, you are a wizard. Yes. Somehow you put this together. You're a wizard, man.
No, I'm with you. It's the same thing I do with BDS and Striker. By the way, I also agree. Like we've done it jokingly, but I actually think it's real. If they don't go to MSI and they don't win the split and the rest of the year continues like this for Team Liquid, I would legitimately consider jungle mid support changes rather. Jungle mid changes. Like you can pick which one you want, but I don't think though. There's the thing. It just has to be one of them. You can't have those two, because here's the problem. Like, I would even argue this, Yamato. Maybe you do the Umpty one first and see if it revives the APA or someone said that. But long run, the way they currently play, those two players aren't good enough, mate. Like, if you put them in a World's BO5, they're not going to beat any top team. There's no way.
It's also the weirdest part about the whole Umpty recommitment is the fact that they have a staff that is capable, like they have staff and players that are capable of just making sure that anyone would be adjusted. They could like handpick any Korean import. Like they have fucking CoJJ, Impact, Reign Over. Like they have the environment to set anybody up for success, while other teams would have to, fight that challenge in a very, very tricky way. It's like, for example, C9, they brought back Reaper, of course. When they brought back Thanatos, they needed to put things in place in order for it to make sense. And Team Liquid just has all the options in the world. I do think it's cool, though, that once again, like Spawn, I mentioned it before, the fact that he said that everybody is replaceable. And he mentioned it on the Sacktown also, that they were doing trials. They were testing different alterations to put pressure on the players. And he felt like that worked because in the end, they were like Dom and Spawn were like sharing their scrim stories. And for the longest time, C9 was just destroying them. And then when they put this pressure of like another player coming in and subbing in, that they started playing better and better. So they're pulling all the stops to try to make it work. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if Team Liquid find the right candidate in the middle of the season to make that change. That they wouldn't. It seems Spawn is completely unapologetic about that approach because he seems very honest to his players. Something I want to bring up with you, because I hate it when teams and players and the community in general talk about how sad it is that players find out that they're about to get replaced during competition or during anything. For me, that's such a sack of shit because in my mind, plain and simple, it should be, as a business, as a competitor, you should plan for the future. Like if you're at the World Championship and that's going to hurt you next season somehow, you're not still doing your fucking job. And if you're not completely clear about the purpose and the job that your players have, and they somehow feel worse because they're going to potentially get replaced for the next year, you haven't set yourself up for success. Because in the end, it's like if you qualifying to Worlds is going to hurt you next year, like what are you really doing? I don't understand why the community is so fucking hell-bent on this shit. It's like a player knowing that he's going to get replaced is going to run it down now. Is that what we're assuming? Like, are they children or what? What do you think about this?
But this way, I do find that topic really annoying because 90% of the time, all you're discussing is you're just seeing someone who's a fanboy of the player over-identifying with the player only. So what he's looking at is he's putting himself in the player's shoes and he's thinking things like, but that's unfair. Like he didn't know he was going to get replaced, or, they didn't like the worst one is when you try to get a different player, but you don't get him. And in the meanwhile, you stick with this player and they're like, and they didn't even tell him they were thinking of replacing him. It's like, the problem is players, I always say, remember that line I have that like take a player's age in esports, and because everyone's like a weird nerd just playing video games all day long, they're more immature than whatever their age is. So my thing is take the age number and subtract 5, and it'll be more like what their actual emotional age is. So if they're 20, they're actually more like a 15-year-old kid. If you understand how immature pros are, I actually do think pros can't be. What you're asking for is treat the pro like he's a true businessman and an entity and a partner, like he's partnering with your company. The problem with that is, Yamato, that's not how players behave. Like, here's the obvious angle. If you're going to say it as an org, you should like owe it to the player. You should tell him he's going to be replaced, right? First of all, there are some players might just run it down or go, oh, fucking hell, and be all moody and sulky because you told them that. So, by the way, if I'm trying to replace you, I'm going to wait until that deal is 100% done before I ever tell you. Why would I? Like, what if I have to then change my mind and actually go with you again? I don't want you to feel like I doubted you, even though, by the way, it's just totally, this is the way business works. This is sports. It's an industry. By the way, I like it, Spawn said, literally everyone in every team should understand it's possible to change them. Like, I'll give you the obvious example. Yes, in theory, Yamato, no one actually ever would replace Caps in G2 because that's basically like in basketball, this move where they removed Luka Doncic from the Mavs. Even if you think it's a better move, it's going to be so unpopular with the fans, it would almost not be worth doing for that reason alone. But I'll tell you what, Yamato, if I was the GM of G2 and for real I can actually get Chovy or Knight, I'll just get him tomorrow. Look, listen, I'd be hated, but even Cap surely would have to go fair play. You know what I mean? Like, even he would get, like, everyone can be replaced if you go crazy enough with the comparison. So first of all, I think, unfortunately, the nature of esports is you have to sort of treat these guys like kids. Like, basically, you just want, like, the player to just play, and then at the end, you tell him whether he's in the team or not. That's unfortunately the way it is. But the reason why I don't think it's fair that people think you should, like, essentially tell the player everything is because players won't reciprocate. Like, there's a million players, by the way, have done those chats with their team when they're in the team and it's the middle of the season. Like, oh, no, yeah, in the future, I'd love to be here. And we're building our relationship. And then the second the off season comes, bro, they barely even give you the call. They're already on another team. And you're like, what? Like, And then their whole shit, by the way, is sort of like, well, I don't have to tell you. It's like, well, then we don't have to tell you, you fuck. How about that? Like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, as we say in England. So in my opinion, you either set a principle, you think that like either you should have to inform the person or you shouldn't, but then both parties better do that. They better not be some, but because I think it's more, I think the problem with this topic is, I think it's a super complicated topic. And as I say, I think people just think about the feelings of the player, whereas I think actually it's actually very tricky to deal with in that scenario. Because like I say, what if you're trying to upgrade, but you don't get the upgrade? What if you want to kick someone, but then you find out like one of the teammates at the end of the season, like, no, actually, he's conditional for me staying. Like, there's so many ways this can go wrong. I think it's very hard to be a GM, basically, mate.
I think the main thing for me is just that as you sign the contract, every detail should be stipulated already. It's like what happens in the event that you benched.
Yes,
are
absolutely.
you replaceable? And I think from a GM side, you should explain what your job is. Your job is to make sure that the roster is as good as possible. And the market condition is going to give you opportunities that you sometimes need to pounce on. And as long as everyone understands that this is how you operate, I think that can serve even as a motivation. Not necessarily that you need to like keep them in the loop about all your roster decisions. Like, oh, it's like week 7. It's like, oh, I heard Inspired is gonna go on the free market, guys. It just comes into the meeting room. Not at that level. I just think it's like if you outline how you work, I do think from anyone's side, anyone that is a true competitor should be very happy that a GM functions like that. Because eventually, if you have teammates that can be upgraded, you should be pushing towards that too. You should be very happy if your teammates get better and get stronger, and that principle is abided by, because in the end, you want people that come into the office and want to prove themselves every single day. It's that comfort of thinking that you're irreplaceable can be very, very poisonous at times. And I think just outlining how you work, I think is like the main thing, because in the end, I think the main issue of everything is that all these fucking leakers as well, it's like they leak information that seems like half true and it seems half baked, and you can't even like probe or have a conversation. Like, let's say I have a theory about a roster I want to potentially build, and you inquire about what the details are. It's like me looking at the recipe doesn't mean I fucking cooked the meal already. I didn't even buy the fucking ingredients yet, and then it's like, oh look, he baked the pie. It's like, no man, I'm reading the recipe. I'm strategizing, and like in particular, the one leak that came out was like, oh, KC want to like G2 want to trade these 3 players for Kalist and money, and then it turned out that this was just bogus, right? Like, I think that aspect makes things a little bit tricky, because if you want to hide and let's say not inform your players about what you potentially want to do, that coming out is just such a shit show. But the main parallel I want to like put like in terms of like esports people that are watching is like in traditional sports, like players have transfers planned, they have fucking, and they still play their game. Sometimes they get benched for whatever reason. Like most recently, there was a very high profile thing of like Lewis Hamilton just fucking joining Ferrari in the middle of a Mercedes run, and he was driving, and they cherished that time, and there was nothing, no craziness, because every party involved understood the nature of their contract and their deal, and with that, obviously, everyone operates with their best interests in mind, and this is something that happens in traditional sports fucking on a daily basis.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.